To get started, I will be using 2½ cups of all-purpose flour. To that, I will be adding 2 tablespoons of sugar. Next, I will be adding 2 teaspoons of baking powder. I will also be adding 1 teaspoon of sea salt. If you are using a finer salt or a fine table salt, you might want to use a little less. Now, with a whisk, I am going to mix and combine my ingredients well. Next, I will be adding 5 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I have already cut them into small little pieces, and this will help me combine it better. Now with my clean hands, I am going to combine the butter and the flour until I get a sandy, crumbly texture. Okay, so this is a nice crumbly texture. I'm going to set it aside, and I will also be adding to my flour mixture 1 large egg and 3/4 of a cup of whole milk. Now in a separate bowl, I am going to beat the egg. Now you're probably wondering why I just did not add it to the milk. That is because sometimes I use all of the milk and sometimes I don't. And the reason for that is because I do not weigh my flour. I would have probably a more accurate recipe if I weighed my ingredients, but it's not very convenient for me. So today's cup of flour might not be the same as tomorrow's. So this is why sometimes the milk has to be adjusted. Okay, so now that that is all ready, I am just going to create a small well in the middle of my flour mixture. And now I'm going to add my egg and start with 1/2 cup of the milk, and then slowly and gradually add more milk if I need it. Okay, so while I am mixing, this is a good time to bring up the subject. I know there are some that call it scone, rhyming with gone, scone, but I call them scones. So I don't know if I am correct or incorrect, but that's just what I'm going to call them. So if you hear me say scone, fine, leave a comment correcting me, but it's probably not going to change. So moving on. So I'd like to share just a little backstory of scone making in my home. When I first got married to my husband, I made Southern style buttermilk biscuits, which is what I'm used to making, and he said it reminded him of his time living in England when he would eat scones. So I adjusted my biscuit recipe to match somewhat of a scone recipe, and this is what I ended up with. So I have added all of my milk. I added all 3/4 of a cup of my whole milk. Now I am going to lightly dust my work surface. I'm going to turn out my dough onto the work surface and just gently pat it into a disc. I'm going to keep it around 1 inch to 1.5 inches thick. And you do not want to knead, you just want to lightly pat it and keep the air inside your dough. So I have formed a nice smooth disc, and I just wanted to point out there is a little fleck of that cold unsalted butter, and that is okay. That will just add to the flavor of the scone. Okay, so at this point, I could certainly use a nice little cute biscuit cutter. I have several sizes to make my scones. This would give it a nice, uniform, pretty look to it, but I don't like to waste the dough, so I am just going to use a sharp knife. I'm going to flour the blade and cut my circular disc into 8 wedges. Now you can most certainly use a biscuit cutter. You could use a round glass to make very uniform scones, but I always find that when I use a biscuit cutter, I end up with that extra dough and it just doesn't come out as light and airy and fluffy as the other ones. So I'm just going to cut them into wedges. But again, do what you like. This is just what I find practical and convenient in my kitchen. Okay, so now that these are all cut into their wedges, I'm just going to scoot some of that flour aside. And here on my lined baking sheet, I've lined it with parchment paper, I'm going to place all of my uncooked scones onto the baking sheet, and then I'm just going to pop this into the freezer for around 10 to 15 minutes. This will help allow the dough to relax. It will allow the butter to get cold again, which will help give me a flakier scone. So I've been making scones for 6 years, and this is the first time I have come across clotted cream. So you know I had to make a batch of scones today. I am super excited to finally try clotted cream with my scones. I usually keep a jar of strawberry jam in the house, but I was out today. But I do have some seedless raspberry spread, and I also have my cherry preserve, and I think it'll go great with these scones. Okay, so it has been around 10 to 15 minutes, and now I am just going to add some heavy cream to the tops of my scones. And you could also add an egg wash, you can do butter, you can just add regular milk, but I had some heavy cream, so I'm just going to take a couple tablespoons and I'm just going to brush it on the tops of the scones, and this will help me achieve a beautiful golden brown color. Okay, so they are ready to go into the oven. I will be baking these in a preheated oven of 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 18 to 20 minutes, or until my scones are done and golden brown. It has been around 20 minutes and my scones are done, and they look gorgeous. I can't wait to try them. And the possibilities are limitless with what you want to add to your dough. I usually do chocolate chip scones, but today I decided to just do a classic scone, and look at the bottoms. They're beautiful golden brown. And as always, please be sure to check the description area below this video for all the ingredients and measurements. I hope you give this recipe a try. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching. Hey guys, you can click on the video icons for more recipes, or you can click on my picture icon to subscribe. Thanks for watching.